the first move in this reset, or one of the first moves, is trading Marshon Lattimore to the Washington Commanders. Commanders showing that as the first place team in the NFC East, one of the biggest surprises, if not the biggest in the NFL, the Commanders are going to be buyers at the trading deadline, filling a massive need with perhaps one of the best corners in the league in Marshon Lattimore.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good move from Washington's perspective, right? Like, they give up a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a sixth, and they'll get a fifth-round pick back, right? So this is the world now where none of these things are just you're never just providing picks for a guy. There's always something coming back to balance out the numbers, but nothing higher than a third-round pick. Essentially 2 net day 2 and 3 draft picks for this guy, who immediately becomes by far your best corner. Completely changes the dynamic of that entire secondary. Now you've got, they had games where they're running up against an opponent and you're like, there's nobody we have that we can trust against this receiver. Like, Benjamin St-Juste as our best corner is simply the guy who draws the short straw and gets wrecked this week. Now you can hide St-Juste if you want to, because Latimore can take the toughest assignment. St-Juste can just cover the second guy. He'll look a lot better. This changes everything from this Washington secondary. And remember, the last few weeks, every week we've been saying this defense overall is looking better than it has, but the glaring weakness on paper is a cornerback. So it's a little bit like what the Texans did when they hit on C.J. Stroud and immediately were like, oh, we're actually a contender now. Let's start making moves. Donnell Hunter, Stephon Diggs, let's try and win right now. This is what Washington are doing. They're like, we're good now. Jaden Daniels has changed everything. We are arguably the best team in the division. We're a playoff team. Why can't we go on a run? Oh, we can't go on a run because our secondary stinks at corner. Well, let's fix that. Let's go get Marshon Lattimore.
Yeah, I think it's a good move by Washington. I think it's a great move by the Saints at this point to hit the reset button. For Washington, I see Adam Peters getting a ton of credit for already turning around the organization. I don't want to take any of that away from him. I think certainly they were nothing, and now they're sitting here at 7-2 in first place in the NFC East with the Eagles and the Cowboys in the same division. It's been very impressive. But it also kind of goes back to my general take where it's like the QB's the driver there, and they took the consensus, much like the Texans, right? The consensus best quarterback available at that time. And halfway through the season, it looks like Jaden Daniels is franchise changing. Because I still don't think the roster is there yet, but this helps move it closer in the right direction. I like that they can give up some of these picks because they drafted in volume, right? We just saw Brandon Coleman start and play really well at left tackle. He was the 67th overall pick in the draft last year in the third round. Mike Sanderstill, Johnny Newton, those guys are playing as second-round picks. They had 3 second-round picks this year. Because the Commanders drafted in volume and had 6 picks in the top 100, it gives them the ability to give up future picks for the one player who's going to upgrade their secondary. So I think that meshes, right? It's not the way the Saints did it was we're going to go all veterans and give up all of our picks, right? You can't do both. And so I think the Commanders have put themselves in a really good spot where they could make this move and be a little aggressive to go get Latimore.
And they still have a lot of draft picks. They had additional picks that they used to make a move like this, which again is why sometimes you accumulate picks. It's not always just for drafting in volume. It's also so that you have the flexibility to capitalize on a veteran player that becomes available for some low draft picks, right? So they had an additional third-round pick. They've only traded one of them away. They still have a third-round pick. So they have a first, second, third, fifth, and then 3 seventh-round picks upcoming. They still have a good volume draft, even though they traded multiple picks for a guy like Latimore, who's still only 28, who can be a long-term or medium-term addition to this team. It's not like this is a one-year rental just to try and win something this year. Latimore can be their best corner for the next few years while they try and draft and get guys and make a better decision, say, than Emmanuel Forbes appears to have been. He can be there for a while. This is a great move for them. He's given up 1 touchdown, Latimore, according to PFF, in the last 3 seasons.
I'll give you a few other numbers, though, because it doesn't come without risk, the Latimore thing. He missed last week. I don't know if that was them saving him for the trade or how banged up he is. Missed week 2. Last year didn't play after week 10. 2002 didn't play after week 5, right? Until week 17 and 18, missed majority of the season. He's been injured quite a bit each of the last 3 years. You mentioned 28. That's getting up to ancient 30-year-old territory for corners, right? So it's not young. He does play man pretty well. PFF grade, though, in man coverage, kind of mid-tier the last couple of years. But he's one of those guys that's size, speed, generally makes the windows tighter for opposing quarterbacks. It's something the Commanders don't have.
And mid-tier is a huge step forward from what they've got.
It is. I'm just saying, like, I think he has a reputation as being great in man. The results have been kind of mid-tier in man over the last 3 years. These are the years he's battled injuries and been a little bit older. I think he's just taken a little step back. Also, just rest in peace to the Marshon Lattimore, Mike Evans, 2 times a year rivalry.
Yeah.
We might need, maybe the Cowboys need to trade for Mike Evans or something so they could rekindle it. Eagles, Giants, somebody's got to get Mike Evans in the NFC East.
Somebody.
But yeah. So I'm good with the move from Washington's perspective. I think it's fine. It's just not without risk. And it sounds like the Ravens were close on Latimore. The Chiefs were involved, but I think they were having trouble probably making the money work and they already got Nuke Hopkins. So good job by Washington, but I thought it's really good by the Saints to pick up the extra picks, draft in volume, draft 12 times, and see if they can get younger in that roster. Mm-hmm. Anything else on that? You're talking to Jason Fitzgerald later.
Yeah, I mean, we'll hear from Jason, who explains, like, this move I think was important from New Orleans' point of view to signal a very distinct change in their approach. Like, this is not a move they would make in previous years, given the way they've treated the salary cap, given the way they've treated roster construction. The fact that they've made this move is a big signal that they have recognized how bad the situation has got, and things are significantly going to shift in New Orleans in terms of how they approach everything. Draft, roster construction, the next 2 years, the whole shebang. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.